Dear ladies and gentlemen, we now start with the first lecture in Fluid Dynamics, Introduction and Applications. Before I start these lectures, I want to mention that problems in fluid dynamics are really often occur and are common in many companies, even from this region. For example, we have region of Kaiserslautern, where we have Voigt, or Zweibrücken, where we have John Deere, or Bosch in Stuttgart, Schaeffler in Hamburg. All these big companies deal with problems in fluid dynamics. Well, that's why you have to learn it, and probably you can use it later in your job. Before I started at HTW Saar, I was working in the company of Bosch, and I was working as a simulation engineer and a team leader, and I had many problems that deal with fluid dynamics. For example, here you see some Schlieren measurement and some computational fluid dynamics of fluid dynamic problems of the injection of nitrogen into air. Yeah, let's come maybe to this slide. Here are the pictures a little bit bigger, and you see the injection of nitrogen into a chamber of air. And this is a computational fluid dynamics simulation. It's a large eddy simulation, and here you can see how engineers develop such problems. Okay, I will go more into detail about computational fluid dynamics and fluid dynamics on later slides. So, for example, if you look here, it's the same results as in the slide before, and you see the plumb of the injected spray. It goes into the chamber, and you see the structure of this spray. And I want to mention some students' projects, some master theses, some bachelor theses, where students use computational fluid dynamics to develop systems or components for energy purpose. Of course, I know it's difficult to read, so I will copy you all the slides additionally to our directory in Moodle, and you can follow the slides and read the details a little bit better on the slides. Okay, this was a project about a heat absorber from solar heat that comes from the sun. You can collect it on this absorber, and the inner structure inside the absorber is really special. Yeah, you have to optimize it to get most of the heat out of the radiation into the water, and it's a fluid dynamic problem. And it was a bachelor thesis, and what was the difficulty here? The difficulty was to evaluate how the fluid flow, and you can do this here in this case by filming the heat absorber with the infrared camera, and then we injected hot water from inside, and the cold water came outside at the top, and so we had some impression how fluid inside this absorber flows. Yeah, here you see really good flow, and in this cases where the hot water comes inside from here, from this direction, it flows out like this direction, and you can see that the absorber, the efficiency here is not so high. We have a lot of areas where no fluid flows. Okay, and additionally to this infrared camera movies, we also made computational fluid dynamics movies So with this computational fluid dynamic tools, you can easily design, for example, a heat absorber, and then you can make the simulations and examine the fluid flow. And that's also something you will learn here in this seminar. So, come to another example. Here it's the same. The letters are a bit small, difficult to read, but you can read it later on the slides. And it's just to give you a little impression about what we can do here as a thesis or a project. This was some information about wind tunnels, and here at the HTW Saar we have a really good wind tunnel facility. You can see it here from the side. You can have a look inside this facility, and that's a really good laboratory to make fluid dynamic examinations. And if you like, if you are interested in this topic, if you want to go further in fluid dynamics, you can make your bachelor thesis here also in this laboratory and examine, for example, windmills or other facilities that deal with fluid flow. But again, here in this chamber we have the same problem. We have a really big problem. You cannot see the fluid flow. Yeah? Everywhere here in this room or inside this wind tunnel, if you have a wind, if you have a fluid flow, you can feel it, yeah, maybe a bit, but you cannot see the fluid flow. So we always need methods to visualize the fluid flow. And here in this wind tunnel, yeah, maybe one small hint here, we have a movie from inside the wind tunnel. You can see windmill here inside the tunnel, and always when I tell you something about moving geometries, I try to place a little movie on YouTube to show you what's happening. And if you look at the slides in the Moodle, you can go to the slide, you can click the button or click this pause, and then you see the movie. Okay. Yeah, this was some scientific project. I don't want to go too much in details. And also here it was made for visualization of fluid flow. I don't want to explain too much up to now. I will explain it a little bit more in detail later. But also here is the same. Go to the slides, you can click the buttons, go to YouTube, and you can follow the movies on YouTube.